Well, it looks like Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has caved in after insisting that yesterday's vote to tap Ophir Akunis as Israel's next justice minister was legal. Netanyahu has now backed down and agreed to make Benny Gantz the acting justice minister. That's, of course, for the duration of the transitional government. Now, Gantz has been seeking the post as a full-time appointment, but until now, Netanyahu had opposed making him justice minister in any capacity. And joining us now to break this all down is our senior correspondent, Owen Alterman. So, Owen, what happened yesterday? How did Ophir Akunis find himself as a candidate for justice minister, and why has he now given in to Gantz?
Well, Natasha, to start from the beginning, the coalition agreement between Benjamin Netanyahu and Benny Gantz, between the Likud and blue and white parties, divided up the cabinet into a set of ministers that were under the control of Netanyahu and the Likud bloc, and those who were under the control of Gantz and the blue and white bloc. And the Justice Ministry is one of those posts that Benny Gantz specifically negotiated for, and that was part of his bloc. And for much of this government's, albeit short tenure, it was Avi Nissenkorn of the blue and white party who was in that position. Then Nissenkorn, for his own reasons, left blue and white. Gantz appointed himself, but he only was able to do it as a temporary appointment because the appointments still have to come before the full cabinet to be voted on. Netanyahu wouldn't allow a vote on a permanent appointment. So again, Gantz ultimately had to go to the Supreme Court. And that after Netanyahu allowed a vote on Gantz, but then once Gantz didn't pass, according to those who were present, the numbers of those cabinet ministers who were present, Netanyahu put Akunis' name out. At any rate, a fight between the two that could have easily escalated into a constitutional crisis went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court issued an injunction against the Likud's Akunis being appointed to the post until, as you mentioned, Natasha, the grand conclusion of Netanyahu completely backing down today and allowing Gantz's appointment to go through.
So what does this say about Netanyahu's political situation right now, and also his ongoing corruption trials?
Well, this was a detour for Netanyahu from the political perspective, and not a very productive one. Natasha, Netanyahu needs Gidon Sa'ar of the New Hope Party and or Benny Gantz of the Blue and White Party to essentially switch sides and join his bloc if he has any hope at forming a government. And in order for that to happen, Netanyahu needs them to trust him. They already didn't trust him. And this episode simply would be cause for them to trust him even less. And it's simply an omelet that can't be put back into the egg. Netanyahu wants the public to move on, and he may be able to get the public to move on because the news cycle simply spins fast enough. But at the end of the day, the politicians won't forget this. And Netanyahu, it will hurt his efforts to form a government. Right. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that Netanyahu's rivals are going to succeed. We may well still head back to yet another round of elections. But Netanyahu certainly didn't do himself any favors.
Now, at this point, Netanyahu only really has a few days left to form that government coalition, and where things stand, it really looks like he's going to have to be giving back that mandate. What is going to happen then?
Well, listen, formally speaking, President Reuven Rivlin has a choice. He can give no one the mandate, meaning that it's thrown in the hands of the Israeli parliament for any 61 out of the 120 members of parliament to get together and recommend someone. That's one possibility. Or Rivlin can give the mandate exclusively to someone else for that other person to have a try. Given how much progress seems to have been made in the anti-Netanyahu camp, again, they're far from getting to the finish line, but they are well on the track. It seems as if Rivlin would give the mandate either to Yair Lapid, the head of the opposition, if you will, in the last parliament, and the head of the Yesh Atid party, or Naftali Bennett of the Yamina party, to get one of them to formally hold the mandate and try to form this potentially unwieldy coalition of these many different players who, frankly, have shown a surprising level of trust among them. So again, that's what we'll have to see happen.